Picture this. A YouTube channel that once held the entire internet hostage. Millions tuning in every drop, every meltdown, every fork scraping styrofoam, is now posting once a month, sometimes less. The man who built his entire brand on being impossible to ignore has gone almost completely quiet. And here's the thing nobody's saying out loud. Nobody really noticed until it was already over. The tour got canceled. The apology landed in a void. And the guy who told the internet on camera with full conviction that he was always 2 steps ahead is now 2 steps behind the algorithm.
2 steps ahead. I am always 2 steps ahead. This has been the greatest social experiment of my entire life.
So how does one of the most watched creators on the platform go from cultural spectacle to digital ghost in less than a year? Let's get into it. To understand where Nikocado Avocado is now, you have to understand what he was. Because loud mukbang guy doesn't even begin to cover it. Nicholas Perry started on YouTube in 2014. Calm content, vegan lifestyle, violin performances. Nothing that would make you look twice.
Noodle?
Okay. He's very picky.
He's a very picky bird, stubborn as can be. He only wants his food hot. And I'm telling him, in the wild, out with the other birdies, you'd be eating your food off the chair. Oh, he made no objections to come on to that video. Why do vegans have to make everything about veganism? Why? There's so much more to life than veganism. Yes, it's an important cause, but when it becomes everything, you sound no different than the Mormons going door to door, knocking on the door saying.
Then around 2016, he stepped away from veganism, citing health issues, a toxic community, the whole thing.
Rotted a tooth. I had low B12 deficiency. My sex drive was terrible.
Really?
Terrible.
I wondered that. Okay.
Terrible.
Wow.
I developed hypoglycemia. I don't know if it's directly related to the veganism, but I never had that before.
And something clicked into place. The portions got bigger. The reactions got louder. The chaos became the product. And from a pure numbers standpoint, it worked. Millions of views per upload. Consistent algorithmic performance. Creator clashes with Stephanie Sue, Penguin Zero, and others that kept his name circulating whether he posted or not.
This moment right here is this generation's I Am Your Father. This is up there with the Darth Vader identity reveal.
At peak, Nikocado Avocado wasn't just a YouTube channel. He was a cultural reference point. People quoted him in comment sections they had nothing to do with. His content got used by viewers as a warning sign what not to become, which is a different kind of influence, but it's still influence. He had the platform's attention. He had the algorithm. He had the meme. And then on September 7th, 2023, he uploaded a video called 2 Steps Ahead. And everything people thought they knew about him became instantly visibly wrong. And this is how Nikocado Avocado turned the greatest exit in YouTube history into the quietest fall. The 2 Steps Ahead reveal was genuinely impressive. Give him that. The physical transformation, 250 pounds lost over more than 800 days, was documented off camera while he continued uploading content from a backlog. The audience thought they were watching him live. They were watching the past. When the reveal dropped, creators who had dunked on him for years went quiet. Penguin Zero, who had been one of his most visible critics, gave him credit. The comment sections shifted from mockery to genuine surprise. For a brief window, Nikocado Avocado had pulled off something rare. A full narrative flip. The punchline became the protagonist. He followed it up with How I Fooled the Internet. A video that showed clips from years prior where he'd been hinting at the plan in plain sight. Lines that seemed like noise suddenly had meaning.
2 steps ahead. I am always 2 steps ahead. This has been the greatest social experiment.
Said during the reveal. Received as a declaration of victory. We'll come back to that. But here's what nobody was asking in the moment. The reveal was extraordinary. But reveals don't pay the rent. Videos do. And Nikocado, who had built an empire on volume, on showing up, on being unavoidable, had just used up 2 years of pre-recorded content in one swing. The backlog was gone. The trick had been revealed. And the question hanging in the air, quietly at the back of the room, was, what does he do next? Nobody asked it loudly. They were too busy celebrating the reveal. The first sign that something had shifted wasn't a controversy. It wasn't a call-out. It wasn't a meltdown. It was silence. After the reveal, uploads dropped. Not gradually the way burnout looks, but structurally. Once a month. Sometimes less. The algorithm, which had spent years rewarding Nikocado's volume, started filling the gap with other creators. And the audience that had shown up in the millions to watch the transformation, they needed something to watch after it. There was nothing. Now, to be fair, he'd just been through a massive physical transformation and multiple recovery surgeries. The pace was always going to change. But here's the thing about audience attention. It doesn't wait. The algorithm doesn't care why you went quiet. It only cares that you did. Within months, Nikocado Avocado, the man who once made the internet feel like it couldn't look away, started disappearing from timelines. And for someone whose entire power was built on being impossible to ignore, that's not just a content gap. That's the first crack in the foundation. But the silence was only the beginning. In mid-2025, Nikocado announced a meet and greet tour. Dates across the US and Canada. A live version of the Mukbang experience, with a presentation on his weight loss journey included. On paper, it looked like momentum, like someone leveraging the goodwill of the reveal into real-world connection with a fanbase. Except the dates came and went. The tour got canceled, refunds went out, and reports started spreading. Ticket sales had been low. The demand that the algorithm numbers implied didn't translate when it came time to show up in a room. Here's what the canceled tour actually revealed. Nikocado had an audience of spectators, not supporters. People watched him because he was impossible to look away from. That's not the same thing as people who'll buy a ticket to be in the same room. And when you're a creator whose entire model runs on attention, that distinction matters more than any single video. Around the same time, Nikocado made another move. He revisited one of the most damaging controversies of his career, the Stephanie Soo situation from 2019. The original fallout. After a collab with Stephanie Soo and Zach Choi, Stephanie posted a video accusing Nikocado of manipulation, pressure, and using his platform to bully her.
Footage is not out there. He did it in a way, I don't remember his exact wording, but it was in a...
What did you want to share? Or do you change your mind now?
I just feel like maybe...
You said you wanted to talk to your viewers with me here, because you never talked to any of your viewers.
And I just remember feeling just shocked because the way he went about it was just so, almost like an interrogation. This couple of days have been filled with just a lot of manipulation, in particular manipulating my own words against me to make me do things that I don't want to do and I don't feel comfortable doing, and a lot of Nikocado Avocado using his platform to threaten me and to bully me. At this point, my home safety.
The accusation seriously damaged his reputation. His response at the time convinced very few people. In 2025, he came back to it, acknowledged specific actions, apologized for pushing topics she wasn't comfortable with. And the response this time was more measured. Some people who'd been against him were open to hearing it, which sounds like progress. Until you ask the obvious question, why now? Stephanie hasn't responded. She has no reason to, it doesn't benefit her. For her, this is a closed chapter. But for Nikocado, the timing tells a story. You don't revisit a years-old controversy mid-exit unless you're trying to tie up loose ends. This wasn't reconciliation. This was housekeeping. Here's where it gets complicated. After the weight loss reveal, Nikocado began a series of surgical procedures to address excess skin, starting with facial work in 2025, then a full body lift, then additional refinements. The commitment is real. These aren't minor decisions. And to his credit, the weight hasn't come back. If anything, he's leaned further into the physical transformation. But there's a pattern emerging that's hard to ignore. Every cycle of Nikocado's career has followed the same shape. A gimmick locks in, it works, it escalates past the point of sustainability, and then a new version arrives to replace it. Vegan creator chaos, mukbang king, social experiment mastermind, physical transformation subject, post-surgery documentation. The content has changed. The mechanics haven't. He is still chasing the next reveal, still leaning into reinvention as a content strategy. And at some point, the audience stops watching the person and starts watching the cycle. And a cycle eventually gets predictable. But here's the detail that changes everything. Nikocado Avocado's entire post-reveal identity rests on one claim, that he was always in control, that the chaos was performance, that the audience were the experiment. And for a while, in the glow of September 7th, that claim held. But control has to produce something. Strategy has to go somewhere. And right now, in 2025, Nikocado Avocado is uploading less than once a month on a platform that rewards daily presence. Running a live tour that the market told him clearly wasn't wanted. Apologizing to a peer who didn't respond for an incident from 6 years ago. Going through an ongoing series of surgeries with no content roadmap attached. That's not a man who's 2 steps ahead. That's a man running the playbook after the audience has already left the stadium. The greatest social experiment of his life? It worked. Once. The problem with being 2 steps ahead is that eventually you have to take a 3rd step. And nobody's seen it yet. Here's what Nikocado Avocado's story is actually about. It's not about mukbangs. It's not about weight loss. It's not even about the social experiment reveal. It's about what happens when someone confuses an exit with a destination. The reveal was genuinely brilliant. Walking away from the chaos, losing 250 pounds off camera, recontextualizing years of content as deliberate performance. That's not something most creators could pull off. Most people go out loud. He went quiet, and that quiet hit louder than anything he'd done at full volume. But the internet doesn't reward exits. It rewards presence. And the moment you stop showing up, the algorithm finds someone who will. What Nikocado understood perfectly and then seemed to forget is that 2 steps ahead is a relative concept. You can only be 2 steps ahead of an audience that's still following you. Once they stop, you're just standing somewhere they used to be. Remember that line from the reveal? I am always 2 steps ahead. This has been the greatest social experiment of my entire life. Here's the irony that line is now carrying. If the social experiment was about proving he could manipulate audience perception, he succeeded. If the social experiment was about building something sustainable on the other side of it, the canceled tour, the drying upload schedule, and the algorithm's indifference all have their own answer. He was 2 steps ahead of the audience. He just forgot to check whether the audience was still walking. Nikocado Avocado didn't lose everything in a year. He cashed out, and what's left is the tab nobody told the audience they'd be paying. As always, it's Glitch System. Thank you all for watching today's video. I'll see you guys on the next one. Peace.